Hey, I'm here with Jackson Hinkle and Kurt Metzger, America's comedian. And guess what? Amnesty International is saying that Ukraine is doing war crimey stuff.
What?
Ukrainian fighting tactics endanger civilians. You know what they're doing? They've documented a pattern of Ukrainian forces putting civilians at risk and violating the laws of war when they operate in populated areas, said Agnes. Oh, there's jokes for this. Sorry. Said Agnes Calabard, Amnesty International's Secretary General. Being in a defensive position does not exempt the Ukrainian military from respecting international humanitarian law. So you're telling me that they're embedding themselves in residential areas and they're launching attacks with missiles from residential areas. So then when Russia attacks back where they're getting shelled from, they're going to be shelling a residential area, which is, again, that's why you're not supposed to be able to do that. Launch attacks from residential areas, because then when you fight back, you're going to kill residents. And so does it be that tactic, that Ukrainian tactic of embedding inside of residential areas, doesn't it sound a bit Hamasy?
Yeah.
It is a little Hamasy of them.
It'd be a little Hamasy right now.
Between April and July, Amnesty International researchers spent several weeks investigating Russian strikes in the Kharkiv, Donbass, and how do you say that? Mykolaiv? How do you say that,
Yes.
Jackson? Mykolaiv?
You guys were breaking up. Mykolaiv.
Mykolaiv. Okay.
You mean Mykolaiv?
And hey, and by the way, the Hamas joke was just a joke. People are going to come on me. That was just a joke about Hamas. Totally. The organization inspected strike sites, interviewed survivors. Really? And survivors, witnesses, and relatives of victims of attacks, and carried out remote sensing and weapons analysis. Really? Okay. Wow, look at that. Throughout these investigations, researchers found evidence of Ukrainian forces launching strikes from within populated residential areas, as well as basing themselves in civilian buildings in 19 towns and villages in the region. The organization's Crisis Evidence Lab had analyzed satellite imagery to further corroborate some of these. This is from Amnesty International. Wow. And by the way, who are not always fantastic on these. They overlook a lot of shit.
I think the last thing they covered was Amber Heard, right?
Yeah.
I'm confusing them.
In the cases it documented, Amnesty International is not aware that the Ukrainian military, who located themselves in civilian structures and residential areas, asked or assisted civilians to evacuate nearby buildings. A failure to take all feasible precautions to protect civilians. Wow, what are they? The Uvalde cops over there? What are they doing?
A lot of hand sanitizing, not a lot of protection.
That's right. That's right. In Bakhmut, several residents told Amnesty International that the Ukrainian military had been using a building barely 20 meters across the street from a residential high-rise building. And on May 18th, Russian military struck the front of the building, partly destroying 5 apartments and damaging nearby. See, that's why you're not supposed to do that, because then when do you see what happens? Do you see now are you happy? Are you happy now? Now Russia's bombing an apartment. Are you happy? 3 residents told Amnesty International that before the strike, Ukrainian forces had been using a building across the street from the bombed building, and that 2 military trucks were parked in front of another house that was damaged when the military. Do you see? Are you happy?
You imagine you live there and they just pull up and put military stuff right in front
of your house?
Like, thanks, heroes.
Yeah. Oh, yay. Amnesty International researchers found signs of military presence in and outside the building, including sandbags and black plastic sheeting covering the windows, as well as new U.S.-made trauma first aid equipment. Look, we're giving health care to somebody in the United States. We have no say in what the military does, but we pay the price. A resident whose home was also damaged in the strike told Amnesty International. You have no say in what the military does, but you pay the price? Sounds like a NATO membership to me, am I right? Come on. And guess who's pissed off about it? Mr. T-shirt himself, Zelensky. slams Amnesty International over report. He says they cannot be tolerated.
Jesus.
Wow.
That is a disconcerting stand against Amnesty International. It's not like they even stop anything. They just make a record that stuff happened.
Well, I won't tolerate it.
Not going to tolerate this recording of information.
Today was Arm Day, and I'm putting them up on the desk to show off my strong.
Today was Arm Day. It's like Amnesty International is spitting on the grave of the ghost of Kiev. Am I right? It's like they said, hey, Ukraine, what were you wearing last night? Okay. Here's what he says. Ukrainian President Zelensky savaged an Amnesty International report that accused his forces of endangering civilians by deliberately setting up bases in residential areas. During the nightly video address to the Ukrainian people on Thursday, he accused Amnesty International of seeking to shift responsibility from the aggressor to the victim.
Wait, he didn't start off with, no, we didn't do that? Wow.
The president added, there cannot be, even hypothetically, any condition under which any Russian attack on Ukraine becomes justified. Aggression against our state is unprovoked, invasive, and openly terroristic. Wow. I mean, even if they were hypothetically half of the country were Nazis and the other half were just there to steal, and then they ran secret biolabs all over the country and also kept shelling the Donbass, that would still be no reason for these unprovoked attacks. Am I right?
Hypothetically speaking, yes.
Hypothetically speaking.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just spitballing, you know.
Just spitballing. And I'm letting the YouTube censor know that is not a reason for Putin to invade.
Even if all of that were definitely true, there would still be no reason.
Still, that's no reason. And if someone makes a report in which the victim and the aggressor are allegedly the same in something, if some data about the victim is analyzed and what the aggressor was doing at that time is ignored, this cannot be tolerated. Tolerated by who?
Yeah, what's a good...
Aren't they an independent international organization? I mean, who? I don't understand. How do you untolerate that?
I have to ask YouTube, I guess.
I guess YouTube will let us know. Oh, by the way, for those of you who think Amnesty is somehow letting Russia off by tweeting about Ukraine, he tweets out this. Here, I'll read this to you. It's a little small. Since Russia, this is from Amnesty International. This is what they're saying. Amnesty International says, since Russia began its war against Ukraine, we have been exposing violations of human rights and international humanitarian law. From the devastation of Izum to the siege of Mariupol, shelling in Kiev, to the displaced people in Lviv, Russia's war is an act of aggression. So Amnesty International not playing favorites and just kind of making a record and stuff. And then Maria, somebody says, you understand that you have just given Russia justification to target our civilians? Each time they have bombed a theater or a hospital or a school, they have said that it was military infrastructure. You have given them and their supporters an excuse. No, the people who are doing that is the Ukrainian military who exactly embedding themselves in residential areas. That's how you should be. So again, like an adult child of an alcoholic, you're not angry at the person who's actually screwing you. You're angry at the person who's telling you about the person who's screwing you.
Yeah.
And that's what. Why else? Why would you handle it any different? But I don't hear it. And by the way, I didn't hear it. But so Amnesty International did come out against Russia, but I don't hear them saying anything in that statement about how hot Zelensky looked in his Vogue spread. So I'm a little suspicious.
What about those guns?
Come on. Well, actually, they have given an opportunity or even a moral order for Ukrainian troops to stop using Ukrainian civilians as human shields. Blame Russia all you want, but if you want to blame them for civilian deaths, please be as vocal against those who paint targets on civilians. That's what I'm saying. I mean, if you purposely hide military targets with civilians... What? I read that wrong. Oh. Shame on you. Perhaps you will first write how the Russians violate all possible international rules.
They did.
I think they did.
They did write that.
They did write that. They wrote that. And and it is we defend ourselves on our land, and it is not for you to judge how we do it. I think it's okay to judge.
I think that's what their organization does.
That's what they're a big international judging how you fight your war organization. I think that's what they
can't do anything to you. Don't worry.
I think it's the HJOFW something. How you fight, judging how you fight your war. What is that?
I wonder if that argument would have sufficed for the SS in World War II. You can't judge us how we fight on our own land.
Yeah, that's the whole. Yeah,
it did in Ukraine, literally in World War II.
Yeah. So anyway, it's nice that Amnesty International is not drinking the Kool-Aid on the Ukraine, and at least they're telling some of the truth. That's nice.
But we need to get them to stop it. It's not tolerable.
I think it's not tolerable, and I can't. So we'll see. Maybe I wonder if they'll take this video down. No, I know some people, Jackson Hinkle, have been. They've been severely censored for telling the truth about.
And let that be a lesson to all the other people.
Yeah, let that be a lesson to no, Kurt. No, that's not supposed to be a lesson to other people to self-censor. Is that what you're saying?
It's not tolerable. You heard Zelensky. That guy's a comedian.
That guy is a comedian. Hey, we're doing live stand-up comedy coming to your town: Indianapolis, Louisville, Cincinnati, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Detroit, Rochester. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all the tickets for all our dates. See you in Denver, too.